The forbidden drink in a hidden corner of Earth. Far from any city, there was a secret human military base. It was built underground, covered by forests and mountains. No one from the outside world knew it existed. Even most humans were not allowed near it inside that base. Scientists were working on a dangerous project. They were making a special liquid called Serum 9. It was made to turn normal human soldiers into powerful war machines, faster, stronger, and more aggressive than ever before. But the serum was not ready yet. In fact, it was unstable. Only a few drops could change a person forever. If given to the wrong being, it could cause disaster on the same day. A group of alien diplomats visited Earth. They came from a peaceful planet called Selira. Their mission was to build friendly ties with humans. Among them was a young alien girl named Lyra. Lyra was curious, smart, and full of questions. She had never seen Earth before. Everything here was strange and exciting to her. While the alien leaders were busy talking to the human generals, Lyra wandered away from the meeting hall. She followed a narrow hallway with blinking red lights. She did not notice the signs that said restricted area. Lyra walked into a large lab filled with machines. Strange human tools and glowing screens covered the room. In the center, she saw a silver table. On it was a glass bottle filled with a bright blue liquid. She stepped closer. The bottle was slightly open, and the liquid inside was glowing softly. It looked like clean water, but with small blue sparks moving inside. Lyra felt very thirsty. Maybe it was Earth's dry air, or the long trip from her planet. She looked around. No one was there. She reached out, picked up the bottle, and drank it. Just a few sips, and it was gone. For a moment, nothing happened. Lyra smiled, wiped her lips, and turned to leave. But then her heart started beating fast. Her vision blurred, her body shook. Her hands glowed faintly, and her skin became warmer. She gasped and fell to her knees. A strange energy moved through her veins like fire. Her thoughts became louder, faster. She could hear voices far away. She could feel emotions that weren't hers. Alarms suddenly went off in the building. Red lights flashed, and a voice shouted through speakers, "Warning, Serum 9 missing, all units alert." Lyra stood up, her body stronger than before. But she was scared, confused. She didn't understand what had happened to her. A soldier appeared at the lab door and saw her glowing eyes. He raised his weapon. "Stop, right there," he shouted. Without thinking, Lyra jumped high into the air. She landed behind the soldier and ran. She didn't know how she moved so fast. Her feet barely touched the ground. Sirens echoed through the halls as she raced through the base. Soldiers chased her, but they couldn't catch her. She pushed through a door and escaped into the dark forest. Outside, the air was cold, the sky full of stars. She ran deeper into the woods, heart pounding. Trees blurred past her. Animals fled from her energy. Finally, after miles of running, she collapsed in an empty shed. Her body trembled, her eyes still glowing blue. She felt heat inside her chest, as if something was alive in her. She looked at her hands. They were changing stronger, sharper, not fully alien anymore. Lyra whispered to herself, "What did I drink?" Far away, in the base, a human general watched the camera footage. "She drank it," he said, his face pale. "She wasn't supposed to, and now it's too late." The scientist beside him looked worried. That serum was never tested on alien DNA, he said. "We don't know what she's turning into." The general turned to his officers. "Send every hunter we have," he ordered. "Find her before she loses control." Back in the shed, Lyra closed her eyes. The glowing in her body pulsed like a heartbeat. She knew she couldn't go home now. She was changing. And she didn't know if it would stop. Suddenly, she heard footsteps outside. Someone or something was coming for her. She stood up slowly, her hands glowing once again. This time, she didn't feel fear. She felt power, and it was just beginning. The night was quiet, but Lyra's mind was loud. She sat alone in the old wooden shed, far from the human base. Her skin still glowed faintly under the moonlight. Inside her, the serum was still moving, still changing her. She could hear sounds from miles away. A leaf falling, a bird flying, a human whisper far in the distance. She closed her eyes. But her brain kept working like a machine. Thoughts, memories, and emotions crashed together suddenly. A wave of heat passed through her body. She clenched her fists, trying to stay calm. But her hands began to spark with blue light again. It was like something inside her wanted to escape. She stood up and looked at her reflection in a broken glass. Her face still looked like hers, but sharper, brighter. Her eyes were glowing even more now. Like stars trapped in her skull, her heart beat like a war drum, loud and strong. "What am I becoming?" she whispered. Just then, a small animal crawled into the shed, a thin, frightened creature with wide eyes. Lyra looked at it, and suddenly she could feel what it felt. Fear, hunger, confusion. She didn't just see the animal. She understood it. Her breath caught. She was reading the creature's emotions, its thoughts, without touching it. That wasn't a skill from her planet. That was something new. Back at the military base, the general was not sleeping. He stared at the map, watching a blinking dot moving through the forest. "We have her signal," said a soldier beside him. "She's leaking energy, whatever the serum is doing, it's making her stronger." The general nodded. "We need her alive," he said. "But if she turns violent, terminate her." Another man stepped forward, younger, with sharp eyes. "I want to go," he said. His name was Agent Knox, one of the creators of the serum. "She drank what we designed for soldiers, not for aliens," he said. "If we don't understand the changes now, we may never control them later." Meanwhile, Lyra walked out of the shed and into the cold forest. Each step she took made the ground tremble slightly. Her senses were wide open. Like invisible arms stretching in all directions, she could feel the anger of humans nearby, the hunger of birds. Above her, even the trees felt alive to her, whispering in ways she couldn't explain, but something was wrong. The heat in her body returned hotter this time. She dropped to her knees. Gasping, her skin shifted again, patterns forming across her arms, glowing lines like tattoos. Her voice echoed in her own ears, deeper and filled with static. Then it happened, she screamed, not in pain, but in release. A pulse of blue light exploded around her. Knocking down trees, birds flew into the night. And a distant alarm triggered again. "Sir, we just detected a shockwave," said a soldier at the base. "She's evolving," said Agent Knox. Eyes wide, she's no longer Celeran. And she's no longer just alien. Lyra stood up slowly, smoke rising from the leaves around her. Her body no longer hurt, but it didn't feel like hers either. Memories of her home planet came flooding in. Her family, her school, her favorite lake under two moons, but they felt far away now, like someone else's dreams. Suddenly, a voice entered her mind. It wasn't human, and it wasn't hers. It was calm, but cold. "They're coming for you, Lyra," it said. "You need to run. Or you need to fight." She turned quickly. But no one was there. Her glowing eyes searched the shadows. Was she going mad? Or was someone watching her telepathically? The voice returned. "You are not the first to change, but you may be the last." Then it disappeared. Like a breeze in her thoughts, Lyra stared into the dark trees ahead. She didn't want to fight, but she also didn't want to hide. A power was growing inside her, one that didn't want to wait. Suddenly, a light appeared in the sky, a helicopter. Then more lights followed, military drones, buzzing like insects. Lyra stepped back, her body tensing. She could feel their eyes, their fear, their weapons. But she also felt something else, something behind the soldiers. A presence, strong and cold, watching quietly. She didn't know who it was or what it wanted. But she knew one thing now. She was no longer just a girl from Solera. She was something Earth had never seen before, and Earth was not ready for her. The sky was still dark when the first drone spotted her. Its red eye blinked high above the trees, scanning everything. It saw her glowing footprints on the ground, warm and blue, like fresh fire. Lyra moved through the forest silently, but even silence could not hide her now. Her body glowed softly, pulsing with a strange energy that lived inside her. She had not slept, not eaten, but she didn't feel tired. Whatever the serum was doing, it was feeding her, changing her, but she didn't know if it was keeping her alive or preparing her for something else. She heard the drones before she saw them, buzzing like angry insects, too fast for birds, too precise for nature. Then came the soldiers, dressed in black, carrying weapons that hummed in the dark. They moved like machines, fast, trained, emotionless. Their orders were clear. Find the alien, contain if possible, kill if not. Agent Knox watched them from a screen deep inside a command van. He had studied the serum for years, but seeing its effect on an alien body terrified even him. This isn't evolution, he said to himself. This is transformation. But the general beside him didn't care about science. He wanted control, and if control failed, he wanted destruction. In the forest, Lyra stopped. She could feel them closing in, not just their footsteps, but their emotions. Fear, confusion, a hint of hate. She could taste their thoughts. It was strange. Like hearing a song inside her blood. Suddenly, a soldier appeared in front of her, his gun raised, his finger trembling on the trigger. "Don't move," he said, his voice cracked, as if he already knew it wouldn't help. Lyra looked into his eyes. She didn't want to hurt him, but the power inside her reacted to his fear. A wave of blue light burst from her hands and knocked him back. He hit a tree and went still, not dead, but unconscious. She turned and ran again, but this time she didn't run because she was afraid. She ran because she didn't trust herself. Every time someone pointed a weapon at her, her body responded. It was like the serum had a mind of its own, and it didn't. Want peace? Far above, on another ship hidden by clouds. Someone else was watching, not human, not from Solera either. A tall figure stood in front of a glowing screen. His skin was silver, his eyes pure black. He smiled as he watched Lyra run. "She is waking up," he said to no one. Just as planned, back on Earth, the chase continued. But Lyra wasn't just running anymore. She was learning every tree she passed. Every sound she heard, every emotion she touched, it was all feeding her. She began to move faster. She could leap from tree to tree without falling. She could smell the fear of humans before they even got close. And now, she could speak without her mouth. She sent out a silent message, a mental cry across the stars. "If anyone hears me, please help me." And someone did, in a cave far from the base. Another alien opened his eyes. His body was thin, his skin cracked with old energy lines. He had once been like Lyra. Long ago, he too had tasted the serum. But he had failed. Now he was just a shadow, until he heard her voice. "She is stronger than I was," he whispered, "and they will fear her in the forest." Lyra stopped running. She turned around and faced the hunters. Dozens of soldiers surrounded her, weapons ready, fingers tight, orders clear. She raised her hands, but not in surrender. In warning, "Go back," she said. Her voice echoed not just in the air but inside their minds. The soldiers froze. Some dropped their guns. They were trained for enemies, but not for someone who could touch their thoughts. Then, something unexpected happened. One soldier stepped forward and lowered his gun, a young man, face hidden behind a visor. He spoke softly. "You don't have to fight us." Lyra looked at him, confused. His mind was quiet, calm, even kind, but something deep inside her flared with warning. She didn't trust calm anymore. Behind him, another figure stepped. Out of the shadows, Agent Nox's eyes locked on her glowing skin. "She's stabilizing," he whispered, "to think. We almost destroyed her before she even bloomed." But then, everything changed. A loud hum filled the air. The sky above cracked open. Something was arriving. Not a drone, not a jet. A ship, smooth, dark, and silent. The same ship from the clouds. Everyone looked up, including Lyra. She didn't know what it was, but her heart told her something worse was coming. Something that wanted her, not for rescue, but for control. The real hunt was only beginning. The dark ship hovered in the sky like a silent predator. No lights, no sound, just a shadow watching the world beneath it. Lyra stared at it with wide eyes, her glowing hands lowered slowly. She felt something new now, not fear, not rage, but recognition. That ship. It wasn't human, and it wasn't from Celera either. Agent Nox stepped forward. Raising a small device, it blinked rapidly as he faced the ship. "They're here," he said quietly. "The real architects of Serum 9. The soldiers around him looked confused. They had been told this was a science experiment, a military tool, but the truth was far more dangerous. Lyra turned away from the sky. The power inside her stirred again, stronger now, sharper, more awake. She looked at Nox, eyes glowing bright. "You lied," she said, voice echoing in his mind. "You said this was human technology." Nox didn't answer, but his silence said enough. In the distance, the dark ship released a quiet pulse of energy. It moved like a wave, invisible too. The eye. Lyra felt it hit her chest like a whisper, cold and familiar. It didn't hurt her. It called to her. Her thoughts scattered for a moment. Visions flashed across her mind, places she'd never seen, voices she didn't know. Something was unlocking. Inside her, old memories, not hers, but buried deep. "Who are they?" she asked, gripping her head. Nox finally spoke. "They're called the Architects," he said. "They gave us the blueprint for the serum. We improved it, changed it, but it was never fully ours." Lyra stepped back. "You used me," she said. "You knew what this would do. We didn't know you would survive." Nox replied, "But now that you have, you're the key." At that moment, a voice entered her mind, smooth, calm, and cold. "We see you, Lyra," it said. "You are ready." Her heart dropped. She wasn't alone in her head anymore. Someone was inside her now. Suddenly, a beam of light shot from the dark ship and hit the ground nearby. A figure stepped out, tall and armored in black metal. Its face hidden behind a silver mask. It didn't speak. It simply walked toward her with slow, perfect steps. The soldiers raised their guns. But Nox raised his hand. "Stand down," he said. "She has to face it alone." Lyra took a step forward, her body tense. The figure stopped in front of her. She looked up at its mask. And then Nit's voice entered her mind, too. "We planted the serum in your galaxy," it said. "You are not the first to carry it, but you may be the last." She reached out, her hand shaking. But the moment she touched the figure's armor, a shock ran through her. Images burst into her thoughts. Planets burning, alien soldiers screaming, serum containers falling from dark ships. It had happened before. The serum wasn't a gift, it was a test, and those who failed became weapons. Lyra stumbled back, breathing hard. "They're not helping Earth," she whispered. "They're harvesting it." Nox's voice came again, but it was cold now. Emotionless, "I tried to stop them once," he said, "but I failed. So I joined them." Lyra's eyes widened. "You betrayed your own people." He stepped closer. "I believed Earth needed power," he said, "but now I see. Earth is just another experiment. The dark figure raised its hand. The ground around them began to glow, forming a strange circle of light. A portal. A doorway to something not from this world. Lyra turned to run, but stopped. Another presence appeared behind her, an alien woman with green eyes and markings like hers. Her mother, Lyra. She said gently, but Lyra didn't move. How are you here? She asked. The woman looked at Nox, then at the ship. They brought us, she said, as leveraged tears filled Lyra's eyes. Even her family was caught in this game. Come with us, the masked figure said. You will understand everything, Lyra. Stood in the center of the glowing circle, her mother on one side, Nox on the other. The architects above, watching, waiting. She had a choice: go through the portal and learn the truth, or fight now and risk everything. She clenched her fists. The light around her responding to her rage. No one would control her anymore. Not the architects, not Nox, not even her fear. Her body glowed brighter than ever. And then she said 3 words that shook the air itself. I choose neither. A blast of energy exploded from her chest. The portal shattered. The dark figure flew back. Even the ship trembled in the sky. And just like that, everything changed again. Smoke rose from the shattered ground as silence filled the forest. The portal was gone. The dark figure vanished. And the ship above had pulled back into the clouds. Lyra stood in the center of the blast zone, her body glowing like a star. Her chest rose and fell slowly, each breath filled with power and doubt. She had destroyed their gateway, but something deep inside her was still calling. A whisper from the Serum, quiet but constant. She turned to her mother. But the woman was already fading, just a hologram, a message, not a rescue. The architects had only shown her what they wanted her to see. Now she knew their game. They didn't just create the Serum. They planted it across the galaxy like seeds. In soil, watching to see what would grow, some planets crumbled under its weight. Others used it for war, but on Earth, something different had happened. Lyra had survived it, not as a weapon, but as something new. She walked through the broken trees, her hands still glowing. The world looked different now. Brighter, louder, almost too alive. Then she heard footsteps. Slow, steady, human. It was Agent Nox, limping from the shadows. His face was burned, but his eyes were clear. He held something small in his hand, a silver tube. Another vial, glowing red. This time, the first dose unlocked your potential. He said, this one will complete it. Lyra didn't move. She didn't trust him, but the serum in her blood responded to the vial. She could feel it, like a second heartbeat. What happens if I take it? She asked. Nox smiled, but there was no warmth. You'll become what they fear most, he said. Something they can't control. And what if I don't? She asked. He stepped closer. Then your power will burn itself out, he said. You'll fade slowly, painfully. Lyra's mind raced. Was this a choice or a trap? Did Nox want to help her, break her completely? Suddenly, the trees shook again. A new sound approached, not from the sky, not from the base, from deep underground. The earth trembled as something rose from below. A steel door opened beneath her feet, revealing a hidden elevator. A voice echoed from the darkness. Robotic and hollow. Subject, Lyra. Confirmed. Transfer to Facility 0. Nox stepped back. Alarmed. They found her, he whispered. I wasn't ready. Before Lyra could react, the ground gave way. She fell through the metal opening. The elevator ceiling above her, darkness swallowed her, but the red vial was still in her hand. Lights flickered on slowly as the elevator stopped. She was inside. A massive underground lab, clean walls, cold air, no windows. Rows of glass tubes lined the walls, one filled with something alive. Failed experiments, frozen in time, screens lit up, showing her face from different angles, scans of her brain, her DNA, her every heartbeat. A voice came from the speakers, not Knox, not the architects. Something else, something human, but twisted. "Welcome, Lyra," it said. "You're not the only one." A door opened. And from the shadows stepped another girl. She looked just like Lyra, same markings. Same glow, but colder, harder, broken. "I took the second dose," the girl said, "and I lost everything." Lyra froze. Was this her future? Was this what the serum wanted her to become? The girl walked closer, her voice bitter. "They say we're special," she said, "but we're just tools." Built to fight their wars, Lyra looked at the red vial in her hand. It pulsed with heat. Tempting her with strength, she turned back to the clone-like girl. "Why are you still here?" she asked. The girl didn't smile. "Because I couldn't stop them," she said, "but maybe you can." Suddenly, alarms blared through the lab. Soldiers were coming. Guns, machines, electric walls. Facility 0 was activating. Lyra had seconds to choose: take the second dose and maybe lose herself, or stay as she was and risk being captured forever. She looked at the broken girl, then at the screen, showing the architect's ship circling above. And finally, she made her choice. She opened the vial and drank it. Pain exploded in her chest. Waves of red light burst from her spine. Her body lifted off the ground, floating in the air. Her scream wasn't human. It was something new. In that moment, she felt everything past, present, future. A map of her life written in light and sound. She saw Earth burning. She saw her people in chains. She saw herself standing alone at the edge of a war no one understood. And still, she rose. Higher eyes glowing red and blue now. Not alien, not human, just Lyra. The serum didn't own her anymore. She was writing her own story now. And it was only getting started. Asterisk. The ground above Facility 0 cracked like thunder. A red-blue light burst through the trees, rising into the night sky. Animals fled. Birds scattered, and silence swallowed the world for one long second. Then came the roar. A wave of pure energy shot into the sky as Lyra floated above the forest. Her body was glowing, not just with power, but with purpose. The second dose had changed her, but not into a monster. Not into a weapon, into something else. Across the globe, satellites captured the explosion. Civilians saw the light in the sky, like a second sun blinking into existence. Phones shook, signals dropped, the internet filled with images. People asked the same question: what is that? Some thought it was the beginning of war. Others believed it was the arrival of a savior. But deep below, in the military command room, the general's face turned pale. "She's not following the protocol," he said. Knox nodded slowly. Eyes locked on the screen. "She's rewriting it in the facility's lab." The clone girl stared up through a cracked ceiling. She smiled faintly, the first true smile in years. "She made her choice," she whispered. "Now it's our turn." All over the base, alarms rang again, but this time not because of a breach. Because other test subjects hidden, frozen, forgotten were waking up. The serum hadn't just changed Lyra. Her energy was triggering a chain reaction. Tubes cracked open, pressure hissed. Eyes blinked in the dark, arms reached for freedom. The facility had tried to control evolution, but now it was facing a revolution. Lyra hovered above the trees. She could feel them, mothers like her, lost and afraid, waking up for the first time. She didn't know their names, but she felt their pain. And more importantly, they felt her strength. For the first time, she wasn't alone. Her voice echoed in their minds, not as command, but as a call. "You are not experiments." She said, "You are not broken. You are more." In cities around the world, governments panicked. World leaders held emergency meetings. The architect ship above Earth began to move again. It had seen something it never expected: unity. Inside the ship, the masked commander stared at Lyra's signal. "She's no longer one of them," he said. "She's becoming something else." A second voice responded, colder and sharper: "Then eliminate her before the others follow." Back. In the forest, black dropships cut through the sky. Soldiers in armored suits dropped to the ground. Each one enhanced with early versions of the serum. Stronger than normal humans, but still not like her. Nox appeared from the smoke. This time, unarmed. He looked at Lyra, standing above the ruins of their secrets. "You can't stop them alone," he said. "But maybe you can lead them." Lyra said nothing, but the glow in her eyes answered him. She was done running. Now she would fight, but not with anger, with clarity. She turned her palms downward, and from the broken forest, figures began to rise. Other serum-born beings, once trapped, now free. Some were scarred, some were afraid, but all of them looked at her like she was the spark they had waited for. One stepped forward, a boy no older than 15. His arms glowed golden and fear-filled. His eyes, "Are we monsters?" he asked. Lyra knelt beside him. "No," she said gently. "We are what comes next." Behind them, the architect ship opened its lower gate. A sphere of black energy formed and began to spin. It was not a weapon. It was a gate, one that could pull Earth's atmosphere apart. The masked commander inside whispered, "If they will not submit, we will reset the world." The humans didn't know what was coming, but Lyra did. She turned to her new allies. "They will try to erase us," she said. "So we show them we were never a mistake." The clone girl stood beside her, armor forming around her limbs from the air itself. Nox placed a hand on a scanner, unlocking codes only he knew. Old weapons, deep secrets, ancient truths, everything was coming to the surface. This was no longer about survival. It was about rising. Lyra lifted her hand to the sky. The light around her bent into a shape-hand, ancient symbol of unity from her home planet. It shone above the trees like a beacon. One by one, the others did the same. Their powers joined, not in chaos, but in harmony. The earth shook again. Not from destruction, from awakening. This was the beginning of something new. Not a battle, a movement. And from above, the architects watched. And for the first time in thousands of years, they hesitated. The sky burned gold and blue as energy storms circled above Earth. The architect's ship hovered like a god in judgment below it. The ground shimmered with the glow of awakened serum bearers, those who had once been hidden, controlled, broken. Now they stood tall, free, alive, powerful. At their center was Lyra. Her eyes burned brighter than stars. Her hands pulsed with cosmic light, but inside her, the battle was not over. The serum whispered, urging her forward. It offered her the power to crush the architects, destroy their ship, silence their control, forever. But with that power came a warning. Once she stepped beyond that line, she could never return. Not to Celera, not to peace. Not even to herself. From the sky, a voice rang out, not through the air, but through every mind connected to the serum. It was the architect, leader, cold and distant. "You were not made to choose," it said. "You were made to follow." Lyra raised her hand and answered with silence. But that silence shook the ship like thunder. Inside the command center, the masked commander watched her. He turned to his officers. "She is breaking the path," he said. "She is choosing her own future." One of the officers hesitated. "What if others follow?" he asked. The commander's response was quiet. "Then the cycle ends." Below, Nox stood among the serum bearers. He looked up at Lyra, then at the rising storm. "She's going to burn herself out," he whispered. "She's holding back the entire system." Lyra could feel it too. Every breath she took was a battle. Every second she held her power in balance, the Earth held on a little longer. She floated above the field of broken trees and rising light. Around her, the awakened Serum-born beings waited. Some were ready to fight, some were ready to die, but all of them looked to her. Not as a weapon, but as a symbol. She didn't want to become a god. She didn't want to be a monster. She just wanted to give Earth a choice. That was when the architect ship opened a final gate. A weapon unlike anything seen before. A sphere of dark matter. Spinning slowly in the sky, if dropped, it would not explode. It would erase cities, forests, oceans, memories. Entire timelines choose Lyra. The voice echoed again. Stand with us, or we erase the board. She turned to Nox. His voice was shaking. There's one way, he said. A pulse strong enough to disable the architect core. But it will drain you completely. Lyra looked around one last time. She saw the young boy with gold arms. She saw the clone girl who had never known freedom. She saw humans, aliens, lost beings, waiting, hoping. Her fingers curled slowly. She looked to the sky. And she chose. She rose higher, past the trees, past the clouds, until the architect ship filled her vision. She reached deep inside herself, past fear, past pain, past power, and she found a light. Small, steady, her own. You do not get to erase us, she said quietly. We are not your story. Then she let go. A final wave of light exploded from her body. Not red, not blue, but white, pure and blinding. It swept across the sky, across the world, across the stars. The architect's ship cracked, trembled, and fell. Its systems failed. Its core collapsed. Not from hate, but from resistance, from hope on the ground. The Serum bearers fell to their knees, not in defeat, in relief. The darkness lifted. The weapon never dropped. Earth was silent, and Lyra was gone. For days, people searched the skies. Governments denied what happened. Some said it was a glitch. Some said it was war. Others said it was a miracle, but the Serum-born knew she had. Given them a choice, she had taken the path no one else dared. Nox stood beside the clone girl. She's not gone, he said. She's just elsewhere, high above, far beyond Earth's orbit. A small ripple moved through the stars, on a lonely moon circling a forgotten planet. A figure opened her eyes. Her skin glowed faintly, her body calm, her power asleep, but her soul awake. She looked at the Earth through a portal of light, not to return, but to remember. Lyra smiled, and whispered to herself, "No one chooses for me ever again."